Welcome back to another episode of Life After Sunday, where faith meets the real fight Monday through Saturday. You like that?
Monday through Saturday, that's right.
Yes, sir.
Leave the church walls and then go experience real life and try to take what you learned and actually live it.
Yep. That's what we're talking about today.
It's tough.
Pastor Chad last night in his little Bible study, he said he was talking about, he's going through Titus and he talked about temperament. And he said temperament in the Greek means, or not temperament, but he's talking about, it talks about, scratch everything I just said. Titus 2, it talks about elder men, older women, young men, like how they should act. Well, it says what defines you as an older man or older woman is not age, but how you're able to apply the truth to your life and how good at you are discerning good from evil.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's pretty cool.
You know, all the things that we don't like about age, and the thing I like about it is a better understanding of the world, and a better understanding of God. I didn't have that as a youngster, and right. I wouldn't trade it for anything, you know, because it's tough, and to have that discernment. And actually, I'll tell you a funny story this week where I failed miserably, where you get frustrated and, you know, so I was replacing this screen, bought the wrong screen door, bought the wrong size first time I've ever done it. And I didn't measure it right. Had to take it back to Lowe's, went to the return line, which is never fun. And I had been doing so well. Like, I'm not frustrated. I have time, even though I put my own time pressures on myself to get it done. And as I'm sitting there and I'm waiting longer and longer, I'm like, hey, I'm blessed to be here. You know, it's good. And I was doing so good. And then your human side like takes over. There's two old people in front of me. And then finally, when the guy in front of me goes, he was returning a can of spray paint he brought from 2 weeks ago. And it took forever to find the transaction. Then he used the wrong card. And I'm like, before I even know it, like my human sinful side comes out and like steam's blowing out of my ear. But I didn't say nothing. And then when I got up there, I'm like, okay, I told her what I was doing. They're like, well, you have to bring it in before I can do it. It's like, so do I have to go to the back of the line? She's like, you have to bring it in to be, real short with me. And I was, oh my goodness, yeah. And it was just so dumb. And so again, we've talked about this in the past. I had an expectation of a quick transaction in the return line at Lowe's. That is not a reasonable expectation.
Oh.
So I set myself up for failure thinking this is going to be quick. I'll be back in no time.
Your expectation was not met. So then it's instant frustration.
Yes, which is everything in life. And so after I left, I was like, how dumb is that? I just set myself up for failure to go to Lowe's and actually think I'm going to have a smooth, fast process. So, like I said, we're always checking ourselves, checking our behavior, and as I was driving back, I'm like, yeah, I didn't handle that right.
But maybe next time when you go into Lowe's, you're going to be like, this could take a while, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
If you go in with that mentality, if it's quick,
yeah,
you're like, oh, that was awesome. It was quick. It takes forever. You're ready.
Yeah. Because that's the expectation. You have a reasonable expectation of the day. So, that was kind of funny. I beat myself up for about 30 minutes about it. And then I was like, okay, learn lesson, move forward. So yeah, I just thought I'd share that because you talk about the things you learn on Sunday. And I wasn't rude to the lady, but I was kind of short.
Yeah.
I just wasn't overtly friendly. And I was like, okay, I got to do better than that. It's just kind of funny how that is.
Expectation piece, we're going to tie right into perfect to what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to go ahead and hit him with the hook real quick.
Let's do it.
We're going to talk about marriages today, and over 50% of marriages end in divorce, and men aren't beating the stats. Why? Because most men are leading like the world and not as Christ. So today we're going to expose the real reason most men fail in dating and marriage, and when they're locking in what actually works according to Scripture. You are, if you're single and tired of failing forward, dating with a purpose, or a married man barely hanging on, this one is for you. So we're going to talk about all things relationships today. And it's something me and Mike actually enjoy talking about. We talk about it often here on the podcast, but I think it's important for men, women too, if the enemy can destroy the marriage, he can take out the man and the woman separately, the kids follow, and complete destruction.
The church collapses
Exactly.
without married couples, happily married, Christ-based marriage. The church will fail because that's what holds it up.
It's 100% correct.
But I mean, in today's world of instant gratification and expectations that are not realistic,
there it is.
Getting married and thinking that it's all going to be bliss and heavenly and not having true commitment, men being addicted to porn, being selfish. You just go down the worldly issues.
Yeah.
Your relationship's dead because when you have some quiet time with your wife, you're both just sitting there like zombies scrolling on your phone, doom scrolling, instead of sitting on the back porch without phones and chatting.
Yeah. We had to experience a couple of weeks ago, we were talking and it was dinner and Brooklyn was gone or something. We were just talking. It's like, man, we hadn't had a, us time in a while, just us with not life is happening, Because I get off early Saturday. We can go to do our Sam's run. And
I love y'all Sam's date. It's awesome.
And after eat, we do it
twice a month.
Usually we try to a couple times a month, for sure once,
I think it's awesome. I think it's more cool than some fancy date with flowers and all kinds of romance. To me, that's a life date.
I told her, I said, one day we're going to go to Sam's. And Sam has that place where you can get food. Pizza and soft serve ice cream and all this stuff. And I said, that's going to be the date. We're going to go in there and get a slice of pizza for $1 and a Coke, walk around eating an ice cream cone.
That's perfect.
Let's go.
I'm sorry. It's just that.
It really is.
That's real life.
But in the midst of that, life happened before that. We got to do that. And my wife's wonderful sister, she wanted to hang out Saturday. What did we say?
Heck yeah.
Come on. What'd she do? Came with us.
Had a good time.
We had a blast.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. Just going, like, could we have gotten upset and or I could have gotten ticked off or whatever. All that could have happened. But you have to make a choice to just roll with it. And we still got to hang out together.
Yeah.
Me and Carrie. We just added an extra person and we all had a blast.
Yeah. And I think, and just as a side note, when you hear us talk, we've done some research on this. We're not talking like we're holier than thou because, we've talked about it before. We've both been, I've been kicked out of the house before and lived in separated. We've been to marriage therapy or counseling. But I've been married to the same woman. I've been with her for, I think, 30 years now. You've been 15 years.
I've been kicked out of the house.
Yeah. So, I mean,
5 years ago, I didn't know if we were going to make it.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
I've, in our young marriage, when I'm 24 years old and married and get mad and throw the controller at the fireplace. And not only does the controller break, but the
Glass.
tile around it broke. And she looks at me and is like, yeah, that really solved everything, didn't it? Which just made me madder, so been down in the mud, been through the dirt. But with that said, we have, I'm not divorced 30 years, you're 15. In today's day and age, that's a long time, both numbers. So we do have some experience in this.
And I'm proud to say we are, I and you both, this is our only marriage.
Yeah, and that's rare today.
Yeah.
And, special needs daughter, police officer, I'd say it ain't going to happen, yet we did. So we do have some experience
By the
that
grace of God.
Talking from and lessons. So maybe you can learn something from us where we stubbed our toe.
No, and we're still not perfect to this day, and we'll never be perfect.
No, but I can tell you, and never perfect, of course. But to me, if you'd have told me at 24 that the best years of your marriage are going to be when you're 50, I've been like, no, it'll be worse. No, it's the best.
Well, you always hear that.
It's the
I've
best.
heard it before. The people that have been married for a long time, and like people say, "Oh, the best is yet to come in your marriage." It sounds cliche, but I think it's the truth.
It is, because all of your worries and things that you think about as a young married couple, those are gone.
Slowly start to fade away over time.
That's my best friend. That's my girl. I'm not going anywhere. We're in it to the end. And that you don't realize as a man how much peace you have from that. When you're in a new marriage and you're still feeling each other out, unless your marriage is just wonderful at the beginning, there's still a lot of stress and worry about stuff. But
I always tell Carrie, I use a line off of, you ever seen the movie Bad Boys?
I think
Will
so.
Smith and Martin Lawrence.
Yes.
I always tell her, we ride together, we die together.
That's it.
Bad boys for life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah. So we're going to talk about all things marriage today. And we really want to get into at the gate, right out of the gate here, about why most men fail. And not just marriage, but relationships in general, whether you're dating, engaged, best friends, whatever. Why they fail. And the number one killer is selfishness. Right out of the gate. And the things you listed a while ago, a lot of those stem from selfishness. And if you look at Philippians 2, 3, and 4, it says, don't be selfish. Don't try to impress others. Be humble. Thinking of others is better than yourself. And don't look out only for your own interest, but take an interest in others too. Compete instead of serve. So, like, what are your thoughts on that selfishness?
So, for example, when you're young, as a young man, before you're married, or at least I did as a youngster, we're just speaking real here. If you think you're going to get laid anytime, anywhere, all the time because you're married, right? Yeah. Well, then you get married and you realize it doesn't happen sometimes when you want it to, which is every marriage for every man with a drive. There's times where it just doesn't happen when you want it to. And as a youngster, what you will do, even probably old guys now, but selfishness kicks in. Oh, yeah. Well, she's not hooking me up, so I'm going to go to look at some porn.
Yeah.
And brother, if you want to make your situation times an order of magnitude worse, try that and see how it works out for you. You're going to walk around angry, mad. You're going to be short with your wife. You're going to have guilt overwhelming you. Unless you just don't have a soul, then you probably need more help. Yeah. Because I do know some men who would do that or cheat on their wives. And I worked with some people who could just do it and go to sleep at night with no, I'm like, do you have a soul? So I'm not talking about those people, but if you got a conscience, you got a soul, a good moral compass, that's going to come out in a negative way. And that comes back to the point of that's a selfish act.
I found that's when you do that, let's say you don't get what you want, your wife is not making love to you or whatever, when you think you want it or need it, and you result to porn, that's just instant gratification.
Yeah.
I have found, I've been there. I think we've both been there.
We've both been there.
So, but I have found since, not watching porn anymore, I have found that do I still get turned down sometimes? Absolutely. But when it does happen a few days later, it's even better than it would have been.
Yes.
When I'm sitting there laying in bed and we've been working all day and it's tired, or whatever.
100% accurate.
But if you waiting even just a few days, it's worth it.
They've shown in studies time and time again that delayed gratification is increased satisfaction.
Whereas if you get mad and whatever, and you say, well, she didn't give it to me, so I'm going to go watch porn. You do that. And then when she does give it to you a day or two later,
it's not as fulfilling.
It's not doing what it's designed to do.
And it's just like maybe if you eat healthy, Monday through Thursday, and I mean healthy, it's hard. But that delayed gratification of having a good, juicy meal that is not necessarily healthy is very satisfying.
Yeah.
But if every day at work you go out with the boys and have cheeseburgers at Chili's, and then the next trash restaurant and you eat like that, when you finally do get to have dinner with your family on Friday or Saturday, is it as gratifying? Of course not, because you've been eating that crap all week.
Doing it all week, yeah.
So delayed gratification is huge. And then going back to the selfishness part too, entitlement is massive.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes out of your head that you deserve this. And I've seen a lot of women in reading and such that whenever they leave, it's because they were entitled to something. They deserved something. And that's also at times during our marriage early on when it was rough, I had that entitlement belief on many issues. And only in marriage therapy did I learn that when I walked in and had my list of grievances for the therapist, and I was ready to, I was going to nail Monica, by God. And that she's like, I don't care about her. This is about me and you working on yourself. And I'll never forget it because it was so completely opposite of what I was thinking. She's like, you work on you work on serving, you work on being the best husband you can be, and don't worry about, what you expect from her. And then she's doing the same thing for me through therapy. And then it ends up working beautifully. And it's almost like anytime you're in a rough patch, if you just really sit down and focus on not being selfish, the reward, it comes via the wife. You'll notice that she's sweeter to you, softer to you, kinder. So again, it's kind of the opposite of what especially young people think. I'm owed this.
I did this, so I deserve this from my wife or my spouse, or I work hard, so they should be doing this for me. Whereas, like Pastor Chad oftentimes describes marriage like a triangle. So you have the top, and then you have the two bottoms, your wife over here, you over here. And just like you said, when I start working on me and following Christ and being the husband that I'm supposed to be, like the Bible says I'm supposed to be, doing the things, serving, all that stuff, leading my home, I start going up closer to God.
100%.
She does the same thing. She starts moving up there with you.
Yeah.
And when you meet at the top,
that's the money right there.
That's the sweet spot. That's you, your wife, and God all together, intertwined, and things are rolling.
Yeah. And it's not easy because we're all naturally selfish people. And it's tough to be that way, but it works. It's been proven it works.
Also, another thing is too, if you look at Ephesians 5:25, it says, for husbands, this means love your wives as Christ loved the church, gave his life up for her. And go and say, in the same way, husbands ought to love their wives as they love their own bodies. And that's hard. That's a big
responsibility,
a tall task.
Yeah.
It's huge. But to do that, the man has to be fully, like we talked about last week, surrendered to the Lord. You have to be walking behind him step by step. And then your wife can fall in under that headship.
Yeah.
The guys, God designed it, him, God, the man, the woman, the children.
Yeah. And that's the only way it works because you'll also see that too with guys who have stay-at-home wives. They begin to get that, they're not, when they do this, they're not leading like Christ and they're being very selfish, which is, well, I worked all day, like I deserve this and then they have this superiority complex where because they make the money, then they begin to treat their wife almost like a kid, or something that like everything that goes through their head is, well, I work, I bring home the money, so I'm owed something.
Like a piece of meat or something.
Yeah. Like, and the wife's, it's not a 50-50 it's not 51-49. It's more like 70-30 in the relationship. And so you'll see that a lot with stay-at-home wives and with dudes.
And a lot of times too, you know, this is an area I struggled in for most of my marriage, and I'm still working on it today. And it's that spiritual leadership of my home, you know, being the king and priest of my home. And, you know, that encompasses like you're failing to do that. So like you're not praying together. There's no vision. What's the vision for your family? Do you have one? Like where's your family going? And like no, again, dying to self. You know, Jesus was the ultimate example of selflessness, you know. But a lot of people, a lot of guys you see around, what are they doing? They're leading with anger, shut down, they go silent mode, silent treatment, or like they're super passive.
You know, and being passive is as bad as being a rager like I used to be.
Yeah.
Being passive just as bad. Just, yeah, it ain't worth it. You know, I'm not going to talk about it. It'll just be this or it'll just be that.
You can't fully lead your home the way God's supposed to without, there's going to be a little confrontation.
There has to be, because otherwise what you're leading is, in my opinion, just BS.
Yeah.
Because two humans can't be around each other 24/7 and not have disagreements on things. And if you're not having disagreements, one of you is being highly passive.
Yeah.
And all passivity does is, you know, where rage,
Impressive word.
where rage shows its face immediately and causes its damage. Being passive is like a growing mushroom, a poisonous mushroom. Just it slowly grows and grows and grows, and then finally y'all are both going to eat it, and you're going to get the damage. Then
That means, you know, something happens. You go silent for however long to each other. Never confront the situation, and you sweep it under the rug. And
it just grows and
that
continues
pile
to
under
grow.
the rug
Grows.
gets huge and huge, and what's supposed to happen? Somebody's going to trip and fall over it, and it's going to blow up.
Yeah. Yeah. And another thing too, where, you know, if they say, if you don't argue, your marriage is, if you don't have a conflict,
Yeah.
then your marriage is probably dead, because the only thing in life where I can get to that point is I have to not care. So if I'm not arguing, that means I don't care. And so that's kind of like, I use that same mentality like on politics. I cared so much it was making me mad, and I decided to not care at all for my own, you know,
Sanity.
sanity and happiness. You know, I cast my vote. That's all I can do. So don't be that way in marriage where you're just like, well, forget it. Nothing's going to change, you know, because that you've given up.
You're two separate humans in the marriage. One flesh, obviously, that's what the Bible says. But like, and we're not talking about just having these raging, brawling, hollering fights. I'm just talking about a slight difference in an opinion.
Yeah.
Like, if something I'm working on too, like with my wife, like she'll say, ask me about her outfit. Does it look good? Like she's honestly asking me, do I think it looks good? But naturally, what do I want to say? Yes, even if I don't think it does.
Right.
And then like the other day she said that, and I said yes, and she said, really? And then I was like, well, I think it's too much of this. And she said, that's what I wanted from the beginning. But naturally, as a man, you just, when your wife asks you, does she look good? She's not asking, does she look good? She's asking,
what you
about
think.
my
She
outfit.
wants to be attractive to you.
Yes.
So I have one similar to that, like a little thing that we had early in the marriage. I used to get butthurt and mad when I would come home or see my wife for the first time, like at the house. I walk in the door and she's home, to not greet me. I'd say, hey, you know, what are you doing? Just keep doing whatever. I would get butthurt by that. She meant nothing by it, because that's her, you know, it's no big deal. Like, I love you. You're like my dog. You're here. It's all good. It's no big deal. And so finally I was like, yeah, but it's a big deal to me. And she worked really hard to do it. and now is perfect at it. You know, I come in the door, hey, hey, what's going on? How was it? You know, and that meant a lot to me, but we had to have a little conflict because to her, it was like no big deal. Like, what do you make being such a wuss
But
about?
if you would never spoke up,
I'd be walking around mad.
Still to this day, who knows how big that could have turned to bitterness, and it could have blew up massively.
It would have, because if I don't know why I'm like that. It's just the way I'm designed, I guess. But it bugged me. It bugged me.
But like, you didn't have some massive argument. You told her how you felt, and a lot of guys don't tell their wife, or even women. They don't communicate their true feelings based on what their spouse's reaction is going to be.
Right.
And which I think that goes into the communication piece of this whole thing. It's huge. You got to have it. And you avoided a massive blow up later down the line by just saying, hey babe, that's how I feel and it's hurting me. And your wife loves you enough to say, all right,
yeah,
I'll do my part. You know, again, we're talking about why most men fail at relationships, and a lot of men go into this like lone wolf syndrome or like isolation. You're like, we're not a team. There's no huddle. There's no coach. We're not like a unit. You know what I mean? Like, and you talked about a lot with you and Monica that you say to each other all the time, man, like y'all are teammates.
100%. I mean, because this thing called life is tough. And that's probably the thing I'm most thankful of, is that I have a teammate, not a wife. I've got a teammate, and we're
best friend.
Yeah, and we're driving through this difficult, stormy life. We've been through so much together. Like, the history is deep and long, and
many valleys and many mountaintops.
Yeah. And so if you don't feel like your spouse is a teammate, then y'all are going to need to sit down and have a long talk.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to have the same objectives, the same goals, you know, the same plans for your family, and you got to have the same moral code.
Yeah. And like back to this, the isolation thing, a lot of guys, they go off with that lone mentality and then they fall into what, like secret sin. Talk about blind spots. Your wife and your friends are supposed to be helping you navigate those blind spots. And you have that lone wolf mentality, or you're in isolation, secret sin, blind spots, you get into like repeated. I was in that for a long 10 years of our marriage, repeated failure, the same thing over and over again, repeated failure. And a lot of men that I think the enemy tries to isolate us so he can take us out, take the man out.
Yeah.
Most men don't have a mic they can call up and talk to and say, brother, man, this happened to me today, and get zero judgment and just spill their guts to.
And get loving response, even if you don't like what you're going to hear. When
Ken and I were split up for 3 or 4 months, and she told me, obviously my struggle was porn and lust and all those things. She told me, she said, you don't have to tell them to me. She said, you find somebody that you can tell them to, and promise me that you're telling them to them.
Yeah.
I said, yes, man, I agreed. And most men don't have that.
So again, outside of, focusing on God, and do you need therapy, marriage therapy, you need dudes. You got to be able to call a good friend and say, my wife is raking my nerves today.
Yeah.
And talk you off the ledge. Like, especially when we were younger, call a friend and be like, I'm out of here. I can't stand this anymore.
I'm leaving.
And they're like, slow down. You're all emotional right now. So you got to have that too.
100%. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, and guys, you chime in the comments, but I don't think women too, I think that's few and far between nowadays. People want these massive friend groups and all this thing, but in reality, you need 1 or 2 friends that are like that, and that's all you need.
Absolutely. And if you don't have that, you got to go to church, find one, something.
Yeah, it's big in this walk of life, and it's big in your sanity, and it's big in not getting into that isolation, lone wolf mentality. Like, this only happened to me. Like, this pit that you can't come out of.
Right.
It's huge. Next up, communication and respect breakdown. Most men don't listen to understand. We listen to fix or win the argument. Zero appreciation, constant criticism, or talking only when we want sex.
All guilty of that.
Oh, everybody.
Everybody's guilty of that.
If you say no, you're lying.
And especially when you're bickering a lot, the constant criticism.
Yeah.
That begins to really, really add up. And then the other thing, like everything in life, not listening. Like, the whole time they're talking, all you're doing is forming your response.
Dude, I'm the world's worst at that.
That's tough. To just take an extra second, slow down, and just what they got to say.
Like, not only with my wife, but a lot of at work, y'all. I mean, like, my brain automatically wants to even respond mid-sentence of the other person talking to me.
Yeah.
I really have to work at pulling that back.
Most of us are like that.
Isolated in
no, most of us are like that. That's just part of our human condition.
Yeah.
That we have to kind of fight.
Mm-hmm. And I think, if you're having trouble like listening, or you're having trouble with like, if you're in an argument or you wanted to win or whatever, like, we went to a marriage conference one time. They said, if you really want to understand each other, or you're bickering and arguing, get in the floor wherever you're at, sit Indian style, both of you on the floor, face to face, and that nobody's bowing, nobody's bigger than the other one. Everybody's down the same level, and then you can communicate and talk.
I've never heard that before, but I like it. Same, we're talking on the same level here.
Exactly. Like, how often when you stand up and when you're talking, or even if you're having a conversation, maybe a light disagreement, it's easy to get loud. And when you stand up and like,
absolutely,
when you're trying to get your point across, or you want to fix or you want to win the argument, you get loud and you get assertive. If you're sitting down Indian style, both you and your spouse, you can't do that. You're not allowed. Your body won't allow you to do it.
Yeah, yeah. Puts everything on a level playing field.
Yeah. And I think, like you said, with women and men communicate differently. Women, they're going way around to get to the point. Men,
like the ball of yarn.
Yeah.
Like just spaghetti.
Yeah.
Taking a long trip to get to the point.
Yeah. I mean, when men are talking, we're a straight line.
Right at you.
And it's not going to come it doesn't come naturally for a man to listen to a woman talk like that. Mm-mm. You have to work at it. And like, again, that's that part of me where I want to insert myself in the conversation before it's done. You've told stories before when, you're listening to Monica, you had to work.
Because I'm wanting to say, I already know the point.
Yeah, that's it.
And I want to just say, well, this is what you mean, and that's totally not cool.
No. So you have to work at pulling that back and saying, tell the whole story.
Active listening is an active workout.
Yeah.
For your friends, work, wife, everything.
I got busted a while ago before we started the podcast. Like telling a story, and I'm prepping somewhat, and I'm listening, and then I was looking at my computer, and then he stopped talking, and I'm looking at him. He's just glaring at me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, dude.
Just wait. I'm just waiting, waiting for his brain to go, wait a minute. He stopped talking. It's a good way to bring somebody back in.
It really is. You done that with your wife?
I have, but she's pretty good about listening.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of doing it to her too. If I'm busy doing something, not stopping and listening, I'm just as guilty.
It doesn't take a lot of effort if your spouse is trying to talk to you in the middle of doing something. Like, just stop for just a second.
Yeah.
Hear them out. And I believe that will go a long way.
Yeah. And actually taking a pause to formulate your own thought, maybe without tons of emotion, trying to keep it chill. It's hard to do. It takes a lot of years for certain personalities to get to that point.
This stuff ain't going to happen overnight, I don't think. But it's the things that you acknowledge, like my listening skills are a problem, or, I want to always win, or we talk, it always ends in a fight or whatever. Like, acknowledge and then begin to work on the problem.
Yeah. 100%.
Acknowledging is the first step here. And like I said, we're not here trying to beat anybody down or say we're perfect. Like I'm actively working on that stuff as we speak right now.
Yeah, and keeping it real, man.
That's what
you got to keep it real.
Just be real.
Got to be honest with yourself in the mirror, man.
I think we got a section 2 we're going to get into next week. And we're going to talk about what actually works and the biblical blueprint that will flip the script, give you some hope and a clear path to maybe grow in some of your relationships and not have some failures in your relationships and things like that. We don't have to keep failing, grow, be bold, and all the things that go along with being a good husband, good father.
I wish there were podcasts when I was a young man to give me clues, because I didn't. Who read a book on marriage? Nobody. You're just trying to figure it out.
I just got married. I didn't know. Nobody wrote me a book. Nobody said this is what you need to do. This is how you to be a husband.
Nothing.
The blueprint's in the Bible, but I didn't look for it in there.
Same.
So if you got anything out of this, man, share it with a brother who is struggling maybe in their relationships. Leave us a review on whatever platform you're listening to us. Subscribe and leave us some comments, man. Join the conversation in the comments and let us know maybe what's one thing you're committing to help better your marriage and your relationships. And I'll let Mike pray us out of here.
Yeah, and don't forget to come back next week for part 2.
Part 2, baby.
Dear Lord, we thank you so much for this opportunity to talk to other men and other people. Continue to guide us as we move forward to try to help other men as we go through marriage, which we all know is extremely difficult. Guide us, watch over us all, keep us safe. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Next week, part 2 will be the blueprints to not fail in your relationships. Keep fighting a good fight, men.